Hello? Anji?
అన్నా
ఇవేనా?
అవునా?
ఓకే ఓకే. ఏమో హానా 9 లేట్ అంటే ల్యాప్టాప్ నుంచి కనెక్ట్ కాకుండా చూస్తాను.
నాకు ఆడియో పని చేస్తుంది అందుకేనా.
సరే సరే. రాలేదా? We can start today. In previous class, we have seen what is exception and how to handle the exception. We have seen by using try catch, we can handle exception. Now, how many types of exceptions are there? Types of exceptions. Types of exceptions divided into two types. One is predefined exceptions. Second one is user-defined exceptions. This is generally separating exceptions into two types. One is predefined and the second one is user-defined. Predefined exceptions divided into two parts. Checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Exceptions are divided into three separate set of parts. Generally, it is predefined exceptions and user-defined exceptions. Predefined exceptions are whenever they developed JDK, as part of JDK development, they developed some exceptions. Those exceptions we call predefined exceptions. Predefined exceptions are coming as part of JDK installation. When we install the Java, we'll get some predefined classes, exception classes. Those are called the predefined exceptions. User-defined exceptions. User means the developer. If I create one exception class, or if somebody who is writing a new code, new project, they want to create any user-defined exceptions, they can create exception class themselves. That is called user-defined exceptions. We are creating exceptions. Predefined exceptions is divided into again two parts. One is checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. And this is divided into two separate parts again. One is error and exception. Predefined exceptions are divided into checked exceptions or unchecked exceptions. And predefined exceptions are divided into exceptions and exceptions, error and exception. These are two things we have to remember. Here, the important questions for interview is, what is difference between error and exception? And what is difference between checked exception and unchecked exception? Those two are the important questions. And how many ways we can handle the exception? As part of exception handling, the main questions are, how many ways we can handle the exception? What is the difference between error and exception? What is the difference between checked exception and unchecked exception? And next question is, how we can implement user-defined exception? Explain with example. We should able to write a code which we can create one exception and we can how we are throwing that exception. And the next question we have to learn, what is difference between throw and throws keywords? What is difference between throw and throws keywords in Java? And how to control the exceptions in Java? These are the basic questions everywhere we can get. Now let's learn all these. one by one. Now I have developed all the classes which I'm going to explain regarding all these topics. What is the difference between all the topics? Now this is the first one, com.vk.error. Now first we can see what is error and the exception difference. Now definition of the error. See, if error is basically, it is a serious problem. If any error occurred in any Java program, it will stop executing our code. It means like we cannot handle that error. If you handle, we can handle the error exceptions using try-catch block, and using throws also we can handle. That we can see in the next program. But now errors we can't handle. How to handle the errors? See, the definition of the error is basically a serious problem which occur while running the Java code. Error is a serious problem which occur while running Java code. The basically error is happening due to the environment or platform which causing the problem. Here the environment and platform is called operating system. See, if any problem with the operating system or memory, which is also memory also part of the operating system, those will come as a errors. If any serious problem is happening due to the platform is called operating system. Now we are using Windows operating system. It is due to operating system elements called memory of the operating system and some other parts of the operating system. Those we can call as errors. Now here, this is an example of the error. In manager class, I just created a public static void test. Test method is taking the argument in type. If I equal to 0, we are just returning simply we are just returning. We are not returning anything because it is return type is void. Simply return value. Return means it will execute the execution of the test method. It will come out from the execution. In else case, if I not equal to 0, if I equal to 1, 2, 3, some other value, then it will go and call the again test method. Test method means same method. It will call the same method with incrementing the I value. If I equal to 5, I plus plus means 6. It is calling test of 6. Again it will come here. 6 equal to 0, false. It will come to else condition. Test of 6 plus plus equal to 7. Similarly, it is just simply looping the test method. Looping means it is calling test method recursively. Continuously test method will call. Now default executable method is main method. Inside main method I am calling test of 5. So here when we call test of 5, first it will call the test method. Inside that again calling to test method, same method. What it is doing, it is just looping up to n elements. N means infinity. It is go 1000, lakhs, crores, any number. When it is executing like this is related to the memory. See, whenever we run a code, Java virtual machine will take care of executing our code. Java virtual machine is called Java command. If you call Java manager, internal Eclipse also, if you run this, it will call a Java manager. It's called calling to Java command. When we call the Java command is called as a JVM. JVM takes some memory. The memory is allocated for executing this code. Inside the memory, it is just calling that main method, default executable method. Main method will call test method. Test method will call the inside the test method again we are calling test method. The test method keep on calling, so it won't end. It is continuously going up to some no limit there. So it will give some memory, whatever memory is allocated. That memory allocation is done completed. Once the memory is allocated for the JVM allocated for the manager class to execute this, if memory is completed, then it will give the stack overflow error. Now if we go and run it, this is a serious problem. We'll get some error. Stack Overflow error. See, whatever exceptions classes, this is from the Java lang Stack Overflow error. If exception class is ending with the error, now we are seeing the Stack Overflow error. Similarly, we have out of memory error. We have assertion error. Those are the examples of errors. If class is ending with the error, that is called a serious problem. We should not do this activity. This we have to see the code, we have to fix the code. Now it should be some limit. Test up to 5 we are running. Now if you want to run it only for the 100, 5 to 100, we can run up to 100, we can run, we can stop there. If you want to run from test of 5 to 1000, we can go to 1000, we can stop it. If we want to run from 5 to 1 lakh, we can go to 1 lakh and we can stop it. That is called fixing our code. Now, if you won't fix this, our project will, our application will stop executing. We'll use Stack Overflow error. Similarly, if any memory is allocated memory for the code is out of the memory, there we'll get the out of memory error. That also we can see in our projects. So if that kind of error comes, we have to call the garbage collector to run the unused objects, abandoned objects we have seen in the object class. Now this is a serious problem, error. How to handle this? Now, first we have to check some element up to some limit we have to go and we have to stop there. Here, I double equal to 0 is returning. And here, and I less than 100. Then only you have to, if I less than 100, return. Sorry. I greater than or equal to 100. It means like it will go up to I equal to 0, 5 to 100. If you call from test 5, first it will check 5 greater than or equal to 100, false. It won't go here. If I greater than equal to, if I equal to 100, that is our condition. If I, first is 5, next is 6, test of 6, test of 7, test of 100, it will go. If 100 equal to 100, both are true. If anyone is true, just return the loop. It will stop the executing. Just I added condition, up to 100 we have to execute this. Now again we got the Stack Overflow. Here I greater than equal to 100. Then we are returning. If I value is incrementing from 5 to 100, if it is 100 also it will be getting Stack Overflow, then I am reducing the size, memory size to 30. 30 also executing the same. Test of 5 will execute come. I equal to double equal to 0, false. I greater than or equal to 30. Now, for our understanding, I will put the system out.println. If anything, if you are not finding, we can put the system out.println, how it is executing. If you want to know our code, how it is executing, we can put system out.println. Now, if it is coming to else condition, we are printing the else. Else, I will print the I value. Then I am incrementing the I value, then calling again test method. Let's go and see what will happen. Now we can see the what is happening. Else 5 is coming always 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, I got this. Now inside the main method, we are calling test of 5. It will come to int of 5. I is a 5. 5 double equal to 0. 5 greater than or equal to 30. It will go to if condition. It won't go to if condition because I equal to not equal to 0. I equal to 5. 5 greater than or equal to 30. 30 is a higher value, 5 is less value. So the condition is 5 should be the greater than 30. Then it will come here. It won't come here. It will go to else condition. Else of I. I value is printing as a 5. Then after that, test of I plus plus. We are incrementing the value here. The incremented value is not applying there. This is local variable. We are incrementing the local variable. Local variable is incrementing, and we are calling the same method. Now let's take int j equal to I plus plus. Now I'm not passing the local variable. I will create one more local variable to the test method else method, else function. Not else function, else block of code. I'm creating one variable. I'm passing the variable to the test. Now let's go and see this. The value is same coming as 5 only. What is our mistake here? Try static. We're calling same method by incrementing the value. J value equal to return the j. First it is incrementing one value and assigning to j. J value is always 5. Now, basically the incrementing operator I plus plus should increment the value assigning to the j. What I am doing is I plus 1. It is equal to I plus plus. But I plus plus is not working in this code.
Why? Because first we printed I. So it's not working.
Yeah.
To print IP మళ్ళీ యాక్సెస్ అవుతుంది అందుకు ఆటోమేటిక్గా ఎల్స్ ప్రింట్ అయిపోతుంది.
You comment just వస్తుందంట. If you comment it, I think it won't work. Now this is a static block. The incrementing operator is not working. Now I'll create an object to the manager class. Any error occur, we have to write some logs system.println. Then we have to debug how it is executing. m1 dot test of 5. Now our code is same code we are executing. The same values. Let's go on. The local variable I plus plus is not working. For now, let's keep it. My intention is, if you want to stop the serious problem, error, we have to use some limit. So I'm giving the limit is up to 100, up to 30. Up to 30, it will print the values. After that, it will stop executing the code. Inside our project also, we have to check some condition. We have to go to some limit. Then after that, we have to stop it. We should not leave it from up to infinity. This error I will see later. I will explain this error later. Now let's go and continue our remaining portion. Now if you execute it, it is printing up to the 5 to 30. Then our code execution is stopping there because we have a condition to stop our code. This is a condition. If 30 is crossing the value, if 31 is coming as a high value, then it will stop executing. If whenever 31 came, it will stop executing. If you want to print up to 100, based on our requirement, we can print the values. Now I want to print up to 100. It is printing up to 100. Okay, now errors are the serious problems we have to fix in our code. Otherwise, it will impact to our Java program to stop the execution. We can't handle that errors also. Handling errors means we have to fix the code. That is about the errors. And exception. We have seen the exception. Exception is a abnormal condition. It is not a serious problem. Exceptions are occurring in the Java code only. The errors are happening in the operating system, platform level. Some memory, some other related to operating system is happening in the errors. But exceptions are occurring in our Java execution. It is related to Java syntactical statements code. If any, when we call a Java command, JVM start executing our .less file. Inside the .less file, if any statement is causing abnormal condition, exception is occurring. For every abnormal condition, there is an exception object. The exception object is created and that object is delegating to the JVM. And JVM will take care of printing that exception object in the console. That exceptions we have seen earlier. Now, what is difference between error and exception? Error is a serious problem. It is happening due to the platform operating system elements, memory and some other elements of the operating system. And exceptions are occurring due to Java code. If any Java code when executing, it will terminate the execution and delegating that exception object to the JVM. That is called exception. Errors. We cannot handle the errors by using exception handling, like by using try catch or throws. We have to fix the code and we have to solve that errors. Exceptions. We can handle the exceptions using try catch block or using the throws keyword. That we can see in the next program. What is throws keyword? That is the two main differences. And now, what is the hierarchy of the exceptions and errors? Throwable class is a supermost class for the all exceptions. Now we have seen if we create a class manager, and inside manager class we have written our attributes and methods. Now manager class is a subclass. For every class, object class is a superclass. Now throwable class is a supermost class for the all exception classes. For throwable also, object class is a superclass. For throwable class also, object class is superclass because object is supermost class for the everything. Throwable is a supermost class for the all exception classes. Under throwable, we have two different hierarchies. First hierarchy, all error classes are part of throwable. For example, stack overflow. Stack overflow error, assertion error, out of memory error. These are the part of the under throwable. These are the subclasses of throwable. Those we can call as a errors. Under throwable, we have exception. Exception also class. Whatever exception, under throwable, we have one more subclass is exception class. We can create object to exception class also. New exception. Now, whatever classes under the exception class, those classes called as exception classes. Now we are seeing the difference of error and exception. Error means it is all classes like stack overflow, assertion error, out of memory error. Other than we have etc. Some other classes also. Mainly these are the classes. Those classes are subclasses to throwable class. And exception class hierarchy is inside the throwable. Throwable is a superclass. Subclass to throwable is exception class. This is also subclass to throwable class. Whatever classes are there under the exception class, those classes we can call as a exceptions. Here, for example, null pointer exception, array index out of bounds exception, number format exception, string out of bounds exception, arithmetic exception, these are the subclasses to exception class. Similarly, under exception class only, we have IO exception, we have file not found exception, we have interrupted exception, and etc. See, under exception class, we have so many exceptions. Now we have seen error and exception difference. What is the hierarchy of the error and exception is? Object is a supermost class for everything. Throwable is a supermost class in the exception hierarchy. Under throwable, we have some errors directly subclass to throwable. Stack overflow, error session, these are the error classes. Exception class, null pointer, array index of whatever exceptions I have mentioned here, those are the under the exception. Now, what is checked exception and unchecked exception? We have seen what is error under exception. Now, what is a checked exception and unchecked exception? Checked exceptions are exceptions occurred at the time of compile time. We have a class. Inside the class, we have attributes and methods. Inside the methods, if you see any statement is a type of checked exception, it will give the compile time error. Checked exceptions we have to handle using try catch block, or we have to handle using the throws. If you are not handling the checked exceptions, it will leave compile time error. We can't compile the program, we can't run the program. Checked exceptions are also part of the exception classes. Under exceptions only, checked exceptions will come. See, this is very important. Checked exceptions are the exceptions occurred at the time of compile time. Whenever we write a Java code, everything, whatever we are telling, everything related to Java code. If you write a Java code, if any statement is type of checked exceptions. Now, I'll write one example for that. If any statement is type of checked exception, if any statement is producing type of checked exception, we have to handle that exception using the try catch block or throws. If you're not handling the checked exceptions, it will give the compile time error. We can't proceed further. So we can't compile it, we can't run this. Now checked exceptions we have to handle by using try catch block or throws. Unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are called runtime exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are not part of compile time. Unchecked exceptions are part of the runtime. When we are executing our code, we will get some abnormal conditions. Those are called as unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions are compile time exceptions. We must handle the checked exceptions. If we not handle it, it won't compile. We can't proceed further to compile and save and execute it. Now, what are the examples of checked exceptions? Checked exceptions example is IO exception, SQL exception. No, already we have written above. Interrupted exception. This is the hierarchy of the checked exceptions, also part of the exception class. Runtime exceptions, arithmetic exception, number format exception, null pointer exception, array index out of bounds exception, string index out of bounds exception, and so on. So many exceptions are there in case of unchecked exceptions. And whatever errors are there, stack overflow error, assertion error, out of memory error, all those also coming as part of the unchecked exceptions. Stack overflow error, assertion error, out of memory error. See, whatever errors, all the errors are also part of the unchecked exceptions. They'll ask a question: if all errors are part of checked exceptions or unchecked exceptions? Errors are also part of the unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions are only, it will happen at the time of compile time error. Those are the subclasses to exception class. Now we have seen the difference between checked and unchecked. Now we will see the examples of that. This is an example of error. First one. Let's go to the checked. I created package exception checked. Here, this is the first class. Now I am telling about IO exception. See, when we want to interact with the files, now we have a requirement of reading a file, text file. We have to read the file, we have to store the data into some in the database. Or we can read the data from the database, storing the data into the file. Okay, if you see in any websites, if you want to download anything, that is a file. See, if you want to download the file, that is coming from some database. And if you want to upload the file, we are uploading our images and all. Those upload is file, that is also file. File is storing into the database. So we have to interact with the file system. File system means if it might be image file, a text file, any file, CVS file, Excel file. We can read the Excel file data storing into the database. Similarly, any file. We have to interact with the file using our Java code. When we interact with the file system, that is related to input-output exception. See, all related to files, file interaction. Those are all the statements of checked exception statements. Now, this is a statement of checked exception, file reader. We have to handle this file reader statement by adding try-catch block, or we can add the throws keyword. How to handle the checked exceptions? We can handle the exceptions using the try-catch block, surrounding with the try-catch block, or using the throws keyword. Now, I can add the throws keyword. Here, I am just delegating the throws file not found exception. When we read a file, the statement is, if you're not putting try-catch block or throws keyword, if the file is not there, if the file is there in my system, if you're running this code in another system, file is not there in the system. So that statement is producing one exception. That is the type of checked exception is file not found exception. So we have to handle that exception. Now I am handling that exception using throws keyword. Otherwise, I'll remove this. Now I can handle this exception using surrounding with the try-catch block also. This is also second way. We can handle checked exceptions using try-catch or throws. This is important. How many ways we can handle the checked exceptions? We can handle using try-catch block or throws keyword. Now, file input dot read line. We want to read the lines of the file. That is a statement of producing IO exception. Reading the line of a file and writing the line into the file is a type of IO exception type, checked exception type. So any statement related to reading the file content or writing the file content, those statements are checked exception types. This is all the rules which are already created by the JDK developers. Now, if you want to access a file, that is a statement of file not found exception. That is already developed by the JDK developers. If any file reading, that is related to the IO exception, that they are already defined in the JDK installation. So we are getting these errors. Now we have to handle this using the surrounding with the adding throws declaration or surrounding with the try-catch block. Anyways we can handle. Now I just throws IO exception. Now file is initializing here, so we have to keep this also in this block. Now whatever statements we are handling, these are all statements is related to this block, because with the variables we are creating, the variables which we create in the try block, we can access the variables inside the try block only. We cannot access outside the try block. So I am keeping all the statements in the try block. Now this is fine. We handle the exception in the compile time. If we run it, we will get the error, but that is related to runtime error. Checked exceptions we have to handle at the time of compile time. Now file is not found, we will get the file not found exception. This is the runtime. At the runtime, we are getting this error. That is called the runtime error. Test inside C drive test a.txt is not there. So we are just learning about the exception handling. So I am not writing a code for the file reader. I am not writing a file. I am not reading the file. We can learn this in the file handling concept. Now we'll go to the again one more again, this one. Now how to handle the exception? We can handle the exception using the try-catch or throws. Here I am handling the same code using the throws. Now here, is file not found exception is subclass to IO exception or not? File not found exception is subclass to IO exception. IO exception is a superclass. file not found is a subclass. Now, here I will remove this. File not found is handling only the if file is there or not. If file is not there, it will handle. And whatever reading the file and writing the file is type of IO exception. IO exception is a superclass, so it won't handle the superclass exception. Now, I'll add throws to this. If you throws IO exception is superclass. So superclass is having the all the subclass features also. In JDK development, file not found is a file not found is a. If we go to this one, we can see IO exception. Some sort of under input string, output string. Okay. File not found. See, using IO exception, we can handle both exceptions. This exception, this exception. Creating a file or reading or writing the data into the file. Because IO exception is a subclass to file not found. So I have a class file not found in the JDK. Now IO exception extends class. Now we can see the inheritance one more time. File not found exception. How it will get? Whatever file not found, inside file not found, I have one method to handle the file is there or not. If its file is not there, it will give file not found. If file is there, it will proceed and will read the file. Now, whatever method is there, one method is there, test method, for example. Now inside the IO exception, even though if you not override the test method is already overridden to the IO exception. And here we have test1 method. We have test2 method. It means like using IO exception, we can handle this exception also. File not found the error exception also we can handle. This is the inheritance. Now this is I am just putting for our understanding purpose. Now I am telling about IO exception is a superclass, but that is not correct. File not found is a superclass. Under file not found, IO exception is a subclass. Whatever file not found data is there. Data means variables and methods. Those are all variables are overridden to the IO exceptions. Now we can handle both exceptions using the IO exception. Here, see, if you want to handle the exceptions, we can handle the exceptions using the particular class. Now, if I want to handle this one, we have to handle using the file not found exception. This file reader constructor is throws file not found exception. So we have to handle using the file not found exception or superclass to the file not found exceptions. Superclass to the file not found exceptions are IO exception and exception and throwable and object class. We have these many exceptions. Now, if you want to handle exception, you can handle exceptions using a particular class related to that exception or superclass to the exceptions also we can handle the exceptions. Now we can handle exceptions of file reader and file input read line or this one using the exception class because exception class is superclass. We can handle that also. Because exception is a superclass to all exceptions, we can handle using the exception class. Throwable is a supermost class to everything. We can handle using the throwable also our exception. Now what we understood. We can handle exceptions using type class block or we can handle the exceptions using the throws. Throws is a keyword to delegate the exception to the caller of our main method. Caller of the main method is a JVM. It is delegating the exception to the JVM. JVM will take care of printing the error message here. This is the JVM will printing this message. Now we handle the exception using throwables. This will also give the same error because we are delegating the object exception object to the caller of the main method. Let's go to next program. Now we can see one more checker exception type. Now here inside manager2, I have a main method. Inside main method, I am calling thread.sleep. After this exception handling, we can learn the multi-threading very clearly. But here, what is a thread.sleep? Thread is a class which already developed by the JDK developers. If you want to execute multiple tasks at a time, you can use the multi-threading thread class. Now, if you run our manager2 class by calling Java manager2, JVM will take care of executing our manager2 class. JVM will give some memory to the manager2 class for execution, and the JVM it will go and execute the manager2 class by using main thread. Sorry, here JVM also having the one thread, that is main thread. By using main thread, JVM will execute the main method definition block top to bottom. Inside the main method definition block from top to bottom, whatever lines of code is there, that is executing by the main thread. If you create any other method, if the method is calling from our main method, main thread will take care of calling to the other methods also from main method. So here, just understand, we have a main thread in the JVM. Main thread will take care of executing the main method. That is a simple point. We can learn more about the multi-threading when we go to the next topic. Now here, thread.sleep. We are telling to the thread, just sleep for some time. This is milliseconds. If you go to sleep method will take the milliseconds. 10,000 milliseconds means it's I think 1 minute. It will sleep for 1 minute, then it will execute the remaining part of the main method. If you have a requirement of sleeping the thread for 1 minute or some time, we can sleep by using thread.sleep method. Now it is sleeping 1 minute, then it is executing this line of the code. If you won't put this one, immediately we will get the hello world. Now, whenever we call thread.sleep, this is a type of interrupted exception, checked exception. Thread.sleep is already defined in the JDK development. That thread.sleep method, if you call, it will give the interrupted exception. We have to try catch that interrupted exception, or we have to throw that interrupted exception to the JVM. Then JVM will take care of printing that exception object. Now, this is a checked exception. Now we have seen one checked exception of file not found. Similarly, IO exception we have seen. Now this is a one more exception object. Checked exception type is interrupted exception. Now I will comment this. This is exception. Now I am handling this exception using a throws keyword. If you throws interrupted exception, it will handle that. Now if you call it, we are handling that exception. Thread.sleep, it will go and sleep for 1 minute, then it will print the hello all. It's just sleeping. Main thread is always now sleeping for 1 minute, then it is giving the hello all. Now if you take one example, if you go to some cricket information, for every 1 minute, if you want to refresh our page, score is refreshing every time. There we can use that thread.sleep. Thread will sleep for 1 minute. After 1 minute, it will refresh the page. This is one example of this thread.sleep. What is the use of thread.sleep? We'll learn more about the threads in the next topic. Now we have seen the checked exceptions. Checked exceptions are the exceptions which is part of the compile time error, When the checked exceptions are occurring, we have to handle that exceptions using try catch block or throws. Then only compiler will allow us to save our code and compile the code and execute the code. Now let's go to the unchecked exceptions. We have seen unchecked exceptions multiple times. Now, unchecked exceptions are not part of the compile time error. Now, inside main method, I have I int x equal to 10, 0, y equal to 10, int z equal to y by x. Y is 10 by 0. 10 by 0 is type of arithmetic exception. So, without handling this using try catch block or the throws, it will compile success because it is happening at the time of runtime. This divided by 0 is exception of runtime. If anything is having divided by 0, it will give arithmetic exception. Now, let's go and run, we'll get the exception, arithmetic exception. End of main. It won't give the end of main here. But if you handle this runtime exception, handling means we can use throws, exception we can use, or arithmetic exception we can use, or throwable also we can use. We are delegating object to the caller of that. Then delegating the object there also will take care of same thing. It will print that. It won't execute the remaining portion of the exception. This example we have seen earlier also. Now, when we handle exceptions, what is the hierarchy? Like our code is giving multiple exceptions. Then, how to handle the exceptions in hierarchy? Now, let's go and see this. String s1 equal to null. String is a null, we'll get the null pointer exception, this one. Before that only we have arithmetic exception. Now, we have a question. We have seen the question. We can see the next question. What is it? How to control the exceptions in Java? We can control the exceptions in Java using the keywords try, catch, finally keyword, throw keyword, throws keyword. We have 5 keywords in Java. By using these 5 keywords, we can control the exceptions in Java. Now we can learn one by one about each keyword. How to control the exceptions in by using try, catch, finally, and throws and throws, we can control the exceptions. Now we can see what is a control flow. We have so many examples. By using that examples, we can understand what is a control flow. See, in manager class, I have main method. I have array size of 4. 0, 1, 2, 3. 4 elements. Now inside the try block, the statements which we are assuming will produce the exceptions. Those statements we have to keep under the try block. About the try block now. What is try block? Try block is a block which we can use for putting the statement, Java statements, which will produce the exception objects. If you are assuming any Java statements are producing the exception objects, those statements we can keep in the try block. And inside the try block, whatever statements we are putting, if you think the statements are producing any exception object, the same exception object we can catch using the catch block. Inside try block, whatever statements we are keeping, if the statements are producing any exception object, the same exception object we have to catch and handle there using catch block. Catch is a definition block which will take one argument as an exception object, and this is also definition block. Try is not having any argument. Try is a definition block which have opening bracket and closing bracket. The statements which are producing exception object, those statements we have to keep in the try block. About the try block, the statements which produce exception object in the try block, the exception object we have to catch in the catch block. The same exception object or superclass to that exception object. Inside array here, this is array of 4. This will produce the array index out of bounds exception. So I am catching the array index out of bounds exception. System out of print of exception catch in the catch block. I am printing one message inside the try block. And after executing the try catch block, I am printing the outside try catch block class. I am printing this message. Now, what is the execution flow here? Now, exception occurred in the try block. When exception is occurred in this statement, it will stop executing the execution in this block, and this statement is catching using the catch block. The remaining part of the try block won't execute. This part won't execute. It will stop executing here. This exception object is catching using the catch block, the same object. Then it will print this message, exception catch in the catch block. After printing that, it will print this remaining portion or not, we have to see. Let's go and run this. After printing that, it is printing the remaining portion also. Because we are catching the exception, we are handling the exception using the try catch block. Once we handle the exception, then it will print the remaining portion also. Now we have seen in this program try catch block. If inside try block exception is occurred, the exception is handling using a catch block with the respective exception object. After if you handle that exception, remaining portion of the main method is executing continuously. This is one control flow. Go to next control flow. Inside main method, similar same example. I have size of array of 4 as a local variable of main method. I am not assigning any values. All 4 values are 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 times. Now inside try block, array of 4. This is a array index out of bounds exception occurred statement. This statement is producing array index out of bounds exception. So we are catching that exception. Inside the catching exception, we are just printing the exception catch in the catch block. We will get this statement first. After getting the statement, finally statement also will come. Now what is the finally block? See, we can keep the finally block after the try block or after the catch block. Simply we cannot keep the finally block to our own. Inside the main method, if I simply put the finally block, that will give compile time error. After try block, we can keep the finally block, or after catch block, we can keep the finally block. Finally block will execute for every execution of our Java program. Whenever we execute our Java class, finally block executes. No matter if exception occurred in the try block or exception is catching in the catch block, finally block will execute. After finally, we have outside try, catch, and finally. We have one SOP. Now, what is the output over here? Now, when we execute the Java manager one, main method will execute first because default executable method. Inside main method, we have array of size of 4, but we are trying to get the array element of 5. Array of 5 is assigning to the I variable. Here, exception occurred due to this abnormal statement. Whenever exception has occurred, first it will check is there any finally block. Finally block will execute. After that, this exception we are handling using catch block. Then catch block will execute. Because we are handling the exception, so remaining portion also will execute. Now we will get the output of this one, and this one. All these three will get output. It won't go to this statement because exceptions occurred in the first statement only of the try block. Now exception is catched. First we got this handling that exception. Then we got the final block execute anytime. Even the exception is handling, if you're not exception is handling, finally block will execute. Then remaining portion also will execute. Now about the try catch block. Catch block should be after the try block. We cannot keep the catch block first. We cannot keep the try block later. We keep Control X. This will be compile time error. Catch block should be is following the try block. After try block only we can keep the catch block. In between try block and catch block, we cannot keep the finally block. Finally block should be at the last of the try catch. If we have try catch, after try catches, we will put the finally block. Simply we cannot put the finally also. Finally block should be after the try or after the catch. We can keep the try and finally also. That is also possible. After try block, we can keep the finally block. This also they will ask. Can we keep try finally? We can keep try finally. Only finally block executed. We are not handling this one, so we are putting the array index out of bounds exception. Similarly, manager 2. This is another flow control. We created one array. Inside try block exception is occurring. Try block exception is occurring, but the exception is type of array index out of bounds exception. But we are handling with a different exception, null pointer exception. Now we are not able to handle that exception because that exception is a type of array index out of bounds, but we are handling using a null pointer. This is not possible. Only that if any statement related to arrays, array index is bounds, then we can handle using the array index out of bounds exception, or superclass to array index out of bounds exception is exception or throwable. We can handle using these three. We cannot handle using the null pointer. So we are not able to handle this one because it won't come to this block. If it is the type of array index out of bounds exception, then it will handle using that. Now, this is the last statement. We are not able to handle using the catch block, so it won't print this one. Now this will give array index out of bounds exception. It won't print any statement. Let's call this. The exception occurred. We are not handling with the proper catch block. Now if we handle this with the proper catch block, it will handle. Now can we keep multiple catches for a single try? Yes, we can keep multiple catches for a single try. Array index out of bounds. I kept 2 catch blocks: catch of null pointer exception, catch of array index out of bounds exception. Now array index out of bounds exception. Now it will catch the exception, then it will print the remaining portion also. Now let's go and run this. Exception has been catched, array in the sort of bounds exception out of try. Now we can keep the multiple catch blocks to a single try block. This is one more question. Can we keep multiple catches to a single try? We can keep. Now from Java 8 onwards, we can keep the multiple catch blocks in a single catch block. How we can achieve that? We can achieve that using the pipe operation. We have this operation pipe of exception. If you have multiple exceptions occurred in our try block, if the statements which we put in the try block is causing multiple exceptions. Multiple exception means here array in a sort of bounds exception, null pointer exception. If it is any other exception also, we can give pipe symbol and give the exception. Now, whenever we give pipe symbol and giving multiple exception catch blocks, this is a type of like this: catch of null pointer, catch of array and also catch of exception. Now, array in a sort of bounds exception is subclass to exception class. Null pointer exception is subclass to exception class. So, whatever exceptions are occurred in the try block, we are handling using the array index out of bounds or null pointer. If you are giving array index out of bounds or null pointer, we should not give the exception class because already we are handling that exceptions using these two exception classes. If you give exception class, then we no need to give these two also because exception is a super class. Already we are handling that exception. Why we are giving this exception again? Control X. Now we are able to handle this using this also because that is a super class. We should not give the super class and subclasses in the same single statement. But here, if you want to handle arithmetic, we can handle like multiple exceptions. We can handle in a single catch block using the pipe symbol. This is from the Java 8 onwards. Now this is a flow control of this three. Now inside the main method, I have size of same array. It's causing the array in a sort of bounds exception. Then inside the try block, this is not appropriate handler. We are not handling within appropriate exception because we have seen in a previous example. Appropriate is array in a sort of bounds exception or exception we can use, or throwable also we can use. Since it is not appropriate, we have finally block, and we have the last statement. Now, what is the flow control? Now we are seeing how execution is happening from top to bottom. In case of try catch, finally. Now exception occurred here. We are not handling with the proper catch block. So it won't print this remaining portion. It won't print the catch block. Finally, block will execute. If exception is occurred in try block, if we are not handling also, finally block will execute. Finally, block will execute always. Then first we will get the output of this. After executing that, it will terminate the program. It won't execute this one. It will terminate with the array index of what exception. Now we can go to next example. Inside manager 4, I have main method. Inside main method, I have try block. Try block is having some set of statements. The statements are producing number format exception. String str equal to 1 to 3. This is a type of string type. 1 to 3 is a number. Integer dot parseInt of string. This is won't give number format, but parseInt method, it is just parsing the string and converting into the integer value and assigning it to the int of number. This statement will execute as no any exceptions is read by the above statements. Inside the try block, no exceptions are occurring because it is properly parsing the string and converting into the number. So this will execute. Inside try block will execute. Then catch block. If any no exceptions are occurring in the try block, if exception is not catching, it won't come to the catch block. Then it will print. First we will get inside try block, then outside try class. We won't go to the catch block because exception is not occurred. Whenever exception occurred, then only it will go here, it will print that. Now here, similarly, this is also no exception occurred. We have a catch block, we have finally block. What is output? First it will print try block fully executed because no exception occurred, same statements. Then catch block won't execute, finally block will execute because finally block will execute for every execution. Then after try block fully executed, we will get finally block executed. Then we will get the outside try block. Try block, finally block executed, outside try block. Now, inside main method, same program, we have an array. The array index out of bounds exception is occurring over here. So it won't print this message. Then we have finally block. Exception occurs, we are not catching. But even though if we're not catching also, finally block will execute. This block will execute. Then it will terminate with the exception. See, same thing. Now next program. Inside main method, I have a try block. Inside try block, string str equal to 1, 2, 3. If you want to convert the string into the integer, if the string is having only numbers, then we can convert integer.parseInt. This converting, this statement will execute. So inside try block, that will execute first. After that, no catch block, no need of catch block. So finally block will execute. After this, finally block will execute. Then outside the try block will execute. This is the flow control. Now this all flow controls I have documented here. What are the flow controls? Now in first program, exception occurs in the type block and handled in the catch block. If exception occurred in the type block, whenever exception is occurred, then inside catch block we are handling. So catch block statement will print. After catch block statement, if remaining portion is there, it will print. That is the one flow. And second case, exception occurred in the type block. Is not handled in the catch block. If exception occurred in the type block, we are not handling that exception in the catch block. So exception has occurred, we are not handling. If finally is there, finally will execute. Because finally will execute every time. And if finally is not there, it will terminate there, it will print the exception object. That is one flow. Exception does not occur in the type block. If exception is not occurred in the type block, it will print the it will execute all the type block, and if any catch blocks are there, it won't go to the catch block because exception is not occurred. Exception occurred, object is created, the same object is catching in the catch block. So if any finally block is there, if even the exception is not occurred, if any final block is there, finally block will execute because finally execute every time. Tie finally class. Exception occurred in the type block. Now we have seen exception occurred in the type block. We don't have catch block, finally block will execute. If we have catch block, if the catch block is having the same exception object, which is occurred in the type block, it will catch it, it will print the catch block also, then it will print the finally block. Exception does not occur in the type block. If exception does not occur in the type block, finally block will execute. Type block also will execute. If try and catch and finally are there in the exception not occurred place, first try block will execute, finally block will execute because catch is not catching that. This is the control flows. Unchecked exception we have seen already. Now you can go and see the user defined exception. Now before that we can see what is throw and throws. Throw is a keyword which you use for throwing your own exception. Like now, for example, before going to the throw keyword, first we can see the user-defined exception. Why we need user-defined exception? Then we can go to the throw. Throw and throws. The main difference is throw is a keyword which you use for raising your own exception, creating your own exception on the program execution. We can use it by using the throw of exception object. This is a syntax for this. Throw E. E is an null pointer. This is the object. I'm just raising one exception in the catch block. This is a throw. Now throws. Throws is a keyword for handling the exception, which will delegate the exception object to the caller of the method. Throws is a keyword which will delegate the exception object to the caller of the method. Throws is a keyword for handling the exception, and throws is a keyword for delegating the exception object to the caller. That is about the throws keyword. Throw is a keyword for raising your own exception, creating your own exception object. Now we'll go to the user-defined exception. What is the use of user-defined exception? See, when we develop any project, now we have seen the abnormal conditions which is occurred due to some Java statements already developed by the JDK developers, and some errors we have seen due to the operating system. Those are the serious problems. Now user-defined exceptions. See, in your development, if you want to raise your own exception, like we have an employees. If the employee salary is less than 1,000 rupees, I have to raise the exception. Employee salary is less than 1,000 rupees. Then I cannot proceed, approve the loan for this employee. That is one exception, abnormal condition. If we have 100 employees, 10 employees is having more than 1,000 rupees salary, we can approve the loan for the 1,000 employees, 100 employees of 1,000. 900 employees is not having more than salary of 1,000, then those are the abnormal condition. We cannot give loan for them. Then we have to raise our own exception to that employee. So that is one example I have taken. Now, how to create our own exceptions, user-defined exceptions. This is very important. If somebody asks how to write your own exception, we have to follow some steps. First one, our exception object should be the subclass to the exception object, exception class of the Java language, java.lang.exception. Or it should be the subclass to java.lang.throwable, because throwable is supermost exception class. Exception also the supermost class to the all checked and unchecked exceptions. See, throwable is a supermost class for the errors and exceptions all. Why we should not use the throwables in case of your own exceptions? Because throwable subclasses or some classes are error classes. Error is a serious problem. We have to handle that error. We cannot handle that error using the try catch or throws. So error should be handled using the code only. If any Stack Overflow error came, we have to stop executing to go to the up to infinity. We have to give some limit. For everything is some limit. So we have to give some limit. Now, here we give the exception object because exceptions are we can able to handle. Errors we cannot handle. Now, our user-defined exception class should be subclass to the exception class. Class myException extends exception. This is the first statement we have to remember. What are the steps we have to follow? Our exception class should be subclass to exception class of JDK. Second one, we have to override default constructor. We have to override default constructor. Third one. This is a proper way of creating our own exception class. Override the argumented constructor which takes string as an argument, because your own exception you have to tell to the user interface, this is due to this exception, with a valid proper message. That message we can give to the argumented constructor. And fourth one, we can throw that exception. Fourth one is not part of the exception object creation. How to use that exception object. Fourth one is how to use our own exception. If you want to raise any abnormal conditions, your own. Now in this example, the salary is less than 1,000. I am raising one exception. This is one example. If salary is less than 1,000, I am raising one exception with the statement, one message. Salary is less than 1,000, so I am not giving loans for this. Amount is below 1,000. Now here, how to use our own exceptions? We can use our own exceptions by throw exception object. By using throw keyword, we can use our own exceptions. Now this is example for user-defined exception. Now we can see all the steps how we created this exception. Now my exception class is extents of exception. Now whenever we create the naming space for the naming specification for our own exception object is, our own exception object should end with the exception, my exception. If you want to create exception for the APIs, if API is failing, I can create an exception as a API exception. Similarly, if you want to create exception for age limit exceeds, you can give age limit. We have to give some meaning name. At the end, we have to give the exception. By seeing this itself, we can find our class is the exception class, our own exception class. This is the naming convention we have to follow for our own exception. So I created my exception. At the end is the exception only. Extents of exception object. This is it's coming from the java.lang package. Now, store account information. I have taken 3 arrays. One is the account number. Then I have taken the names of the employees, and I have taken the balance of the employee. Balance is in the account balance. All arrays of size is 5. 101, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 names here, and I have 5 values balance in the accounts. 5 accounts are there. 5 accounts names in one array, account numbers in one array, balance in another array. In this my exception object. Now I have created a default constructor. I have created an argumented constructor. In argumented constructor is taking a string type, so I am calling a superclass of string. For every exception class also there is an argumented constructor which takes the string type. So super is calling statement to superclass, exception class. Now we followed only 3. First one is our class should be extents of exception class. Second one is default constructor. Third one is argumented constructor of string type. We have done this. Now inside main method. Inside main method, whatever statements are producing exception, those statements we are keeping in the type block. I am feeling these all statements are producing exception objects, so I am keeping the statements in the type block. Now, first I am printing one system out of printer account number If we give /n, it will give some space, tab space. Here we have tab. If you give tab, it will give some space. Tab means it will give 3 spaces. After tab, I gave customer. After customer also, I gave some tab space. Then I balance. Now, each and every array is having 5 elements. All 5 elements I want to print one by one with the tab space. For printing the array elements, we have for loop. We have for loop of I equal 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Here I am printing the values. How to print the array elements? Array of 0, array of 1, array of 2, array of 3, array of 4. Now first I equal to 0. Account number of 0. Tab space. Name of 0. Tab space, balance of 0. First 0 elements. Number of 0 is 1001. Tab space, NISH. Then tab space, 10,000. Similarly, account number 2. This name. And second one is this one. Account number 3. Name 3. And third balance. We'll print all the values. While printing the values, we are just checking the condition. If balance is less than 1000, I want to raise an exception. How to raise exception? Create object to the exception object. My exception me equal to new my exception. So balance is less than 1000. So we are just using the keyword throw me. Then it will raise exception over here. If balance is less than 1000, it will throw exception. It will stop executing there. Then we are catching the exception also. Inside the catch, whenever we catching this, we are printing e.print stack text. We are printing this. Now let's go and run this. Now after printing the 4 accounts, we are catching the exception. We are printing that message. This is our own exception. I only created. Balance is less than 1000. This is the exception object message. Now, if balance is less than 500 only, I want to throw the exception. My condition. Now all the balance is greater than 500 only. So we won't get any exception. Our execution flow will go properly. Then we will get the all values. If you give /t tab space, if you give some spaces here, tab. This is a tab space. This is our own exception. Similarly, if you want to create your own exception, you can create exception by extending the exception class. Then we have to override default constructor and parameter constructor. That is the only thing we have to do. Then whenever you want, we can create exception object and throw the exception object. Now to know what is a throw. Now inside manager class, I have a method, starting void fun. I have try block. Inside try block, I am throwing my exception. Throw new null pointer exception of demo. I am throwing myself. That throwing exception I am handling here. Null pointer exception again. Then I will get the exception of this. Catch inside the fun. Then again I am throwing the same exception. Rethrowing the exception. Throw e. Throw is a keyword through raise the exception or create exception. You cannot say create exception. Create exception is new. Whenever you call new operator, new exception object, that is called creating exception. Throwing is a keyword for raising exception. Inside main method, I have try block. Inside try, I have calling the fun method. Fun is a static, so I am calling it. Inside a fun method, first it will go here. It will execute this. It will throw exception. The throwed exception I am catching here. So it will execute the catch block. This will execute. Then again I am rethrowing exception. After rethrowing exception, again we are catching here. So we have seen here try catch is used for catching the exceptions and handling the exception. We will get this one also. Catch in the main. Catch inside the fun, catch inside the main. Throw is a keyword for throwing a raising exception. Throws is a keyword for delegating exception object to the caller and handling the exception. So this is about the exception handling. Yeah, exception handling is completed. We can see the multi-threading even today evening class. Evening timing I will tell.